The night sky over the mountains of South Korea split open with fire. Park Do-hoon was sitting alone in his small apartment, drinking cheap beer and watching old videos of rocket launches when the world outside his window turned bright orange. He ran to the glass and saw something impossible. A star was falling, but it was too big, too slow, and burning the wrong color. The ground shook when it hit. Even from 50 kilometers away, Do-hoon felt the impact in his bones. His beer bottle fell and shattered on the floor, but he did not notice. He was already reaching for his coat. Do-hoon had once been a famous aerospace engineer. He had designed engines for rockets that carried satellites into orbit. People had called him a genius. But 3 years ago, one of his rockets had exploded during launch. 3 astronauts had died. The investigation said it was not his fault, that a supplier had given them bad parts. But Do-hoon knew the truth. He had trusted the wrong people. He had not checked carefully enough. Those 3 deaths lived in his chest like stones. He had lost his job. His wife had left him. Now he worked at a small repair shop, fixing air conditioners and refrigerators. He was 42 years old and waiting to die. But when he saw that fire in the sky, something woke up inside him. Something that had been sleeping for 3 years. By morning, the military had surrounded the crash site. Do-hoon drove as close as he could, then hiked through the forest until he reached the edge of the restricted zone. He climbed a tree and looked through old binoculars. What he saw made him forget to breathe. It was a ship, not a plane, not a satellite, not anything built by human hands. It was enormous, nearly a kilometer long, shaped like a curved blade. Its hull was made of something that looked like metal, but moved like liquid. Smoke rose from 100 wounds in its body. It had been running from something, Do-hoon realized. Running and fighting and losing. The military found him 2 hours later. They were going to arrest him, but then someone recognized his name. Park Do-hoon, the rocket engineer. The one who had designed the Cheonma 7 engine. They did not arrest him. Instead, they put him in a helicopter and flew him to the crash site. Kang Yuna met him at the landing zone. She was a military intelligence officer, young and sharp-eyed, with the look of someone who had seen terrible things and learned to keep walking. She did not smile when she shook his hand. "You are not supposed to be here," she said, "but we need people who understand machines. Can you keep a secret that will never be told?" Do-hoon looked at the alien ship rising above the trees. "Yes," he said. They walked together into the wreckage. The inside of the ship was stranger than the outside. The walls were covered with patterns that might have been writing or might have been art. The air smelled like copper and flowers. Lights flickered in colors that Do-hoon had never seen before, colors that hurt his eyes and made him feel dizzy. And everywhere, there was damage. Something had torn through this ship with terrible violence. Do-hoon saw holes punched through walls thick enough to stop missiles. He saw blast marks that had melted metal into glass. He saw dried blood that was not red but deep purple. They found the pilot in what must have been the control room. It was still alive, barely. Do-hoon had expected something like the aliens in movies, gray and thin with big eyes. This was nothing like that. The creature was massive, 3 meters tall, with a body like an insect and a face like a nightmare. It had too many eyes and too many limbs, and its skin was the color of old rust. But when it looked at Do-hoon, he saw something he recognized. Pain, fear, desperation, and hope. The creature moved one of its limbs and touched something on the wall. Light exploded through the room, forming shapes and images in the air. Do-hoon saw stars, thousands of them, connected by lines of light. A map, he realized. A map of the galaxy. The creature pointed to a small dot near the edge of one spiral arm. Earth. Their home. Then the images changed. Do-hoon saw ships, hundreds of ships, thousands of ships, moving through space like a swarm of locusts. He saw planets burning. He saw cities being torn apart by weapons that made nuclear bombs look like toys. He saw creatures. Millions of different creatures from millions of different worlds being dragged onto massive ships, being processed, being consumed. He saw what was coming for Earth. The alien made a sound that might have been speech. Its translator must have been damaged because Do-hoon could not understand the words. But he understood the message. "Run," the alien was saying. "Fight. Do something. They are coming for you." Then the creature pointed at its own ship, at the ruined control panels, at the weapon systems that had fallen silent, at the engine core that still pulsed with faint light. And Do-hoon understood something else. The alien was not just warning them, it was giving them a gift, a weapon, a chance. The creature died an hour later. Its body went still, and its many eyes closed one by one. Yuna stood beside Do-hoon as they watched, and neither of them spoke. Finally, she said, "The generals want to hide this. Bury the ship. Pretend it never happened." "That would be stupid," Do-hoon said. "Yes." Yuna looked at him with those sharp eyes. "What do you think we should do?" Do-hoon walked to the nearest wall and placed his hand against it. The material was warm, almost alive. He could feel energy humming through it, power beyond anything humanity had ever created. "We need to rebuild it," he said. "Not just study it, not just hide it. We need to make it ours. We need to make it into something that can fight." Yuna was quiet for a long time. Then she nodded. "I know people," she said. "People who think like you do. People who would rather fight than hide. Can you protect us? Give us time to work?" "I can try." Do-hoon looked up at the alien stars still glowing on the ceiling. Somewhere out there, the hunters were coming. They had destroyed 1,000 worlds, and they would destroy Earth too, if humanity let them. But Park Do-hoon was tired of letting things happen. He was tired of watching rockets explode and doing nothing. He was tired of being a failure. "Then let us begin," he said. Outside the ship, the sun was rising over the mountains. It was a beautiful morning, the kind of morning that made people believe in good things. But Do-hoon knew the truth now. He knew that the universe was dark and cruel and full of monsters, and he knew that humanity would have to become monsters too if they wanted to survive. 3 years passed. The world changed, but most people did not know it. Deep beneath the mountains of South Korea, in a facility that appeared on no map, Operation Phoenix was born. 12 nations had agreed to work together in secret. They had given Do-hoon everything he asked for: money, equipment, people, the best scientists and engineers from every corner of the Earth. And they had given him time. But time was running out. Kim Sora was the first to join his team. She was a quantum physicist from Seoul, barely 30 years old, with wild hair and eyes that never seemed to focus on anything in the present. People said she was strange. People said she talked to herself and forgot to eat and slept only 2 hours a night. People said she was the smartest person alive. When Do-hoon showed her the alien power core, she cried. "It is a singularity," she whispered, touching the glass that contained the impossible light. "A black hole, but tame, controlled, generating more energy in 1 second than our entire planet uses in a year." She turned to Do-hoon with tears running down her face. "This changes everything. Everything." "Can you make it work?" Do-hoon asked. Sora smiled like a child seeing a birthday present. "Give me 6 months." It took her 8, but she did it. The alien power core came back to life, flooding the ship with energy. Lights turned on, systems activated, the ship began to wake up. Lee Tai-ho came next. He was a former Special Forces soldier, a man who had fought in wars that his government denied existed. He was missing 3 fingers on his left hand and had scars across his face that he never explained. He was also the deadliest person Do-hoon had ever met. "You want me to study weapons," Tai-ho said when Do-hoon explained the project. Alien weapons. Yes. Tejo was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "The things that made these weapons, are they the same things that are coming to kill us?" "No. The ones who made this ship were victims. The ones coming are the hunters." "Good." Tejo picked up a piece of alien technology that had been sitting on a table. It looked like a rifle, but wrong somehow, with too many barrels and a trigger that seemed designed for a hand with 7 fingers. "I would hate to kill people who built something this beautiful." Tejo spent months learning the alien weapons. He took them apart, put them back together, fired them at targets, and documented everything. The technology was beyond anything humanity had imagined. Plasma cannons that could melt steel from 100 kilometers away. Energy shields that could stop nuclear explosions. Missiles that tracked their targets through dimensions that human mathematics could barely describe. But Tejo was not satisfied. "These weapons are too precise," he told Do-hoon one night, surrounded by alien parts and human tools. "They are made for hunting, for clean kills. But we do not want clean kills. We want destruction. We want to hurt them so badly that they never come back." "What do you suggest?" Tejo held up a human nuclear warhead. "We make hybrids. Their targeting, our explosives, their shields, our redundancy, their elegance, our brutality." Do-hoon smiled for the first time in months. "Do it." Kong Yuna worked above ground, protecting the project from enemies both foreign and domestic. There were people who wanted to stop Operation Phoenix, politicians who thought they could negotiate with the hunters, generals who wanted to use the technology for earthly wars, spies from every nation trying to steal secrets for themselves. Yuna stopped them all. She lied and threatened and bribed and occasionally made people disappear. She did not enjoy this work, but she was very good at it. Every night she looked at the intercepted signals from deep space, watching the hunters get closer, and she told herself that she would do whatever was necessary. 7 years. That was the estimate. Maybe less. Jang Minho arrived in the 4th year of the project. He was young, only 23, a programmer who had dropped out of university because his professors could not keep up with him. He had been arrested twice for hacking government databases, just to prove that he could. Yuna recruited him personally. "We have a problem," she told him. "The ship has a brain, a computer, but it is damaged, and we cannot communicate with it. Can you help?" Minho spent 3 months studying the alien systems. He learned their mathematics, their logic, their programming languages, and then, one night at 2 in the morning, he made contact. The alien AI spoke through the ship's speakers, its voice crackling and broken. "Who are you?" Minho's hands trembled on his keyboard. "We are humans. We found your ship. We are trying to rebuild it." Silence. Then, "Why?" "Because they are coming. The hunters. And we want to fight." The AI was quiet for a long time. When it spoke again, its voice was different, clearer, stronger. "My name was Hanul. That is the translation your language provides. I was the mind of this ship. I watched my people die. I watched my world burn. I ran because there was nothing else I could do." A pause. "I have been sleeping, waiting. I did not know if I would ever wake up." "You are awake now," Minho said. "Yes." Another pause. "You want to fight them, the Rel, the hunters?" "Yes. They have destroyed 1,000 worlds. They have never been defeated." "Then they have never fought us." Hanul made a sound that might have been laughter. "I like you, human. You are foolish, but I like you." From that day forward, Minho and Hanul worked together. The AI shared secrets that would have taken humanity centuries to discover. It explained systems that human science could not comprehend. It helped them rebuild the ship in ways that combined alien technology with human creativity. The project entered its final phase. Do-hun stood in the rebuilt control room, looking at screens that showed human and alien data side by side. The ship was almost ready. It was no longer purely alien. Human steel reinforced its walls. Human weapons sat beside alien ones. Human chairs and human controls filled the command deck. It was a hybrid, a monster, something new. "We need a name," he said to his team. They were all there. Sora with her equations, Taiho with his weapons, Yuna with her secrets, Minho with his alien friend. "Bulkut Namu," Yuna said quietly. "The flame tree. It is a Korean tree that blooms with flowers the color of fire." Do-hun thought about that. A tree that grew from the earth, a tree that burned bright. "Bulkut Namu," he repeated. "Yes, that is who we are." In the darkness of space, the hunters were coming. They did not know what waited for them. They did not know that the prey had found teeth. They did not know that humanity had taken a broken refugee ship and turned it into something deadly. But they would learn. Soon. They would learn. The Bulkut Namu rose from the earth like a ghost leaving its grave. Do-hun stood on the command deck, feeling the ship tremble around him as it broke through the mountain. 10 years of work, 10 years of sacrifice, 10 years of watching good people die from accidents, from stress, from the simple weight of carrying a secret that could save or doom humanity. Now all of that work was lifting into the sky. "All systems are stable," Sora reported from her engineering station. Her hair had gone gray in the past decade, but her eyes were still bright. "Power core at full capacity, hybrid engines responding to commands. We are flying." "Weapons online," Taiho added. His voice was calm, as it always was. Death did not frighten him. It never had. "Both alien and human systems are ready to fire." "Communication channels secure," Yuna said. She had become harder over the years, her face carved from stone. The things she had done to protect this project lived behind her eyes like ghosts. "No one knows we are here. To the world, Operation Phoenix failed 5 years ago. We are ghosts." Minho sat at his station, his hands moving over controls that were half keyboard and half crystal. "Hanul says the ship feels strange, new, but good, like wearing clothes that finally fit." Do-hun allowed himself a small smile. "Tell Hanul we are glad to have it aboard." The ship burst through the clouds and kept climbing. Blue sky turned to black. Stars appeared, more than Do-hun had ever seen from Earth's surface. And beneath them, the planet turned slowly, beautiful and fragile. Home. The only home humanity had ever known. The crew of the Bulkut Namu numbered 112. They were soldiers, scientists, engineers, and pilots. They came from 20 different countries. They had trained for years to fight in zero gravity, to operate alien systems, to work beside an artificial mind that thought in ways no human could fully understand. They were the best humanity had to offer, and they might not be enough. Do-hun addressed them through the ship's communication system. "You all know why we are here. You all know what is coming. In 3 months, maybe less, a fleet of alien ships will arrive in our solar system. They call themselves the Reol. They have been hunting and killing intelligent species for 10,000 years. They have never been stopped." He paused, letting the words sink in. "We are going to stop them. Not because we are stronger, not because we are smarter, but because we have no other choice. If we fail, everyone we love will die. Our families, our friends, our entire species. Everything humanity has ever built or dreamed or loved will be erased from the universe." Another pause. "So we will not fail." The crew did not cheer. They did not need to. Do-hun could see the determination in their faces, the cold fire that burned in their eyes. These were not people who needed speeches. They were people who had already made their choice. The Bulkut Namu flew past the moon and kept going. Do-hun watched Earth grow smaller in the rear cameras, until it was just a blue dot among millions of stars. He thought about his parents, both dead now. He thought about his ex-wife, who had married again and had children. He thought about the 3 astronauts who had died in his rocket. He wondered if they would be proud of him. He wondered if they would be afraid. The journey to the edge of the solar system took 6 weeks. The Bulkotnamu was fast, faster than anything humanity had ever built, but space was vast beyond human understanding. They passed Mars, red and silent. They passed Jupiter, massive and ancient. They passed Saturn, beautiful and cold. And then they reached the place where they would make their stand. "This is the best location for an ambush," Yuna explained, pointing at a holographic map. "The Raol will drop out of faster-than-light travel here, at the edge of our system. They will expect to find a helpless planet waiting for harvest. Instead, they will find us." "One ship against a fleet," Tai-Ho said. "I like those odds." "You are insane," Sora muttered. "Yes, but I am also very good at killing things." Minho had been quiet, listening to the conversation. Now he spoke. "Hanul wants to say something." The lights on the bridge flickered, and Hanul's voice filled the room. It was smoother now, less broken, but still strange. An alien mind speaking through human speakers. "I have something to confess," Hanul said. "When I first woke up and found humans crawling through my body, I was angry. I thought you were scavengers picking at my corpse. I thought you were no different from the Röhl." No one spoke. Dohun felt the words like stones in his stomach. "I was wrong," Hanul continued. "I have watched you for 10 years. I have seen you work and suffer and sacrifice. I have seen you take my broken bones and make something new. Something that is not human and not my people, but something else entirely." The AI paused. When it spoke again, there was something in its voice that sounded almost like love. "My people called this ship the Last Hope. That name is no longer correct. You have renamed it Bulkotnamu, the Flame Tree. A tree that burns but does not die. A tree that blooms with fire." Another pause. "I think my people would have liked that name. I think they would have liked you." Dohun found his voice. "Hanul, we could not have done this without you. I know, I am very important." The AI made a sound that might have been laughter. "But you are important too, Captain. All of you are. And together, we will do something that has never been done. We will make the hunters afraid." The crew was silent for a moment. Then Tai-Ho started to clap. Sora joined him, then Yuna, then Minho. Soon the entire bridge was applauding, 100 humans cheering for an alien mind that had chosen to fight beside them. Dohun did not clap. He was too busy wiping tears from his eyes. They waited at the edge of the solar system. They ran drills and checked systems and prepared for the battle that was coming. They ate meals together and told stories and tried not to think about how many of them would die. On the 73rd day, Hanul's sensors detected something. "They are coming," the AI announced. 17 ships. The real hunting fleet." Dohun stood from his chair. Around him, his crew took their positions. In engineering, Sora began charging the power core to maximum capacity. In the weapons bay, Tai-Ho armed every missile and cannon. In the communication center, Yuna prepared to broadcast humanity's response to the hunters' demands. And on the bridge, Minho placed his hand on the console and felt Hanul's presence, vast and ancient, and filled with a rage that matched his own. "All hands," Dohun said, his voice steady. "Battle stations." The flame tree was about to bloom. The rail fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel like sharks rising from deep water. 17 ships, each one larger than the Bulkotnamu, each one bristling with weapons that had ended 1,000 civilizations. They moved in perfect formation, confident and hungry. Dohun watched them on the main screen. He had expected to feel fear. Instead, he felt something cold and sharp in his chest, something that had been waiting for this moment since the day he walked into a dying alien ship. "They are scanning us," Hanul reported. "They are confused. They recognize my design but not my modifications. They do not understand what we are." "Good," Dohun said. "Keep them confused." The royal flagship sent a transmission. The alien voice was harsh and clicking, like bones breaking. "Translate," Yuna ordered. Hanul's voice filled the bridge, speaking the alien words in human language. "Attention, unknown vessel. You are in possession of stolen rail property. Surrender immediately for processing. Your world has been selected for harvest. Resistance is not permitted. Compliance will result in quick termination. Non-compliance will result in extended termination." "That is not really different," Minho muttered. "The rail do not understand mercy," Hanul explained. "They see other species as food, nothing more." Dohun stepped forward. "Open a channel. Let them hear my response." Yuna nodded. "Channel open." Dohun spoke clearly and slowly, knowing his words would be translated by Hanul and broadcast to every ship in the rail fleet. "My name is Park Dohun. I speak for the people of Earth. You have come to our system expecting easy prey. You have come believing that we will surrender, or run, or beg for quick deaths. You are wrong." He paused, letting the translation reach alien ears. "This ship was built from the wreckage of a vessel you destroyed. Its pilot died warning us about your cruelty. We have taken that warning and turned it into something new, something that does not fear you, something that has been waiting for this moment." Another pause. "You want to know what we are? We are the answer to every world you have burned. We are the revenge of every species you have harvested. We are humanity, and we do not surrender." He nodded to Yuna, who closed the channel. Silence on the bridge. Then Taiho laughed, a short bark of genuine amusement. "That was a good speech, Captain. I almost believed it." "Believe it," Dohun said, "because now we have to prove it. All stations prepare for combat." The Royal fleet attacked. They were fast and coordinated, moving with the precision of predators who had never faced real opposition. Energy weapons lit up the darkness. Missiles screamed through space. The Bulkatnamu shook as its shields absorbed the first wave of attacks. "Shields at 80%, Sora reported. "Holding steady." "Return fire," Dohun ordered. "All weapons." The Bulkatnamu unleashed its fury. Human railguns fired projectiles at a fraction of light speed. Alien plasma cannons burned through enemy shields, and the hybrid missiles, Taiho's creations, detonated with nuclear fire wrapped in alien targeting systems. 2 Ryul ships died in the first minute. Their hulls cracked open and their crews were scattered into the void. It was more damage than any species had ever inflicted on a Ryul hunting fleet. But it was not enough. The remaining 15 ships adapted. They spread out, surrounding the Bulkatnamu, attacking from every direction. The human ship was faster and more agile, but it could not be everywhere at once. "Shields at 60%, Sora shouted over the sound of explosions. 50%. They are overwhelming us." "Taiho, boarding parties," Dohun ordered. "Hit their flagship. Cause chaos." Taiho grinned with bloody teeth. During the fighting, a piece of debris had cut his face open, but he had not noticed. Finally, real work. 20 human soldiers launched from the Bulkatnamu in armored pods. They were wearing hybrid combat suits, alien technology wrapped around human bodies. Taiho led them personally, crashing through the hull of the Rail flagship like a meteor. The fighting inside was brutal. The Rail were larger than humans, stronger, with natural armor and claws that could tear steel. But humans were faster and angrier and had spent years preparing for this moment. Taiho killed 7 Rail in the first minute. He moved through the alien ship like a storm, his weapons blazing, his soldiers following behind. They did not try to capture. They did not try to negotiate. They burned everything they touched. Back on the Bulkatnamu, The battle continued. "Shields at 30%, Sora warned. "We cannot take much more of this." "Hanul," Minho said urgently. "You said you could merge with the ship. Become one with it. Is that still possible?" "Yes, but it is dangerous. I might lose myself. I might become something that is no longer me. The alternative is death." Hanul was quiet for a moment. Then, "I have already died once. When my world burned. When my people screamed and I could do nothing but run." Another pause. "I do not want to die again, but I do not want your people to die either." "Then do it," Minho said. "Become the ship. Save us." The lights flickered throughout the Bulkotnamu. Every screen went dark. Every system went silent. For 3 terrible seconds, the ship drifted helpless in space, an easy target for Ruel weapons. Then Hanul woke up. Not as a program running on alien computers, not as a voice speaking through human speakers, but as the ship itself. Every sensor became its eyes. Every weapon became its hands. Every engine became its heart. The Bulkotnamu moved, not like a ship, like a living thing, like something that had evolved to kill. In 18 minutes, 12 more Royal ships died. Hanul danced between their attacks, predicting their movements before they made them, striking with precision that no human pilot could match. The ship became a blur of motion and destruction, beautiful and terrible. On the real flagship, Taiho watched through a window as his enemies burned. "Beautiful," he whispered. Then he returned to killing. When it was over, 17 royal ships were scattered across space in pieces. The Bulkotnamu floated among the wreckage, scarred and wounded but alive. Of the 112 crew members, 37 were dead. Another 20 were wounded. But they had won. Dohun sat in his chair, too exhausted to stand. Around him, his surviving crew was silent. They had done the impossible. They had defeated a rail hunting fleet in open combat. Hanul's voice filled the bridge, tired but triumphant. "I am still here," the AI said. "I did not lose myself. I became something more. Something new." A pause. "Something human." Minho laughed weakly. "You are the strangest alien I have ever met." "I am the only alien you have ever met." "Still strange." Dohun found the strength to speak. "Yuna, the signals we intercepted. How many more fleets does the Royal Empire have?" Yuna checked her data. Her face was pale. "Thousands, maybe more. This was just a scouting force." "Then this is not over." "No, Captain. This was just the beginning." Dohun looked at the wreckage floating outside his ship. Somewhere in that debris were the remains of creatures that had terrorized the galaxy for 10,000 years. And somewhere beyond this system, millions more were waiting. "Good," he said quietly, "because we are just getting started too." The Bulkotnamu turned and began the long journey back to Earth. It was time to tell humanity what they had done, and what they still had to do. Earth celebrated when the news broke. For the first time in history, humanity knew they were not alone in the universe, and for the first time in history, they knew they could fight. But Dohun did not celebrate. He stood in the ruins of the royal flagship, which had been towed back to Earth for study, and he thought about what came next. The scouting fleet was destroyed, but somewhere out there, the Royal Empire was preparing its response. They had kicked a monster. Now the monster was going to kick back. "We have maybe 5 years," Yuna told him during a meeting with world leaders. "Maybe less. The Royal will send a proper war fleet. Hundreds of ships. Maybe thousands. One Bulkotnamu cannot stop them." "Then we build more," said the president of Korea. "We have the technology now. We have the knowledge." "It is not that simple," Sora interrupted. She looked tired, older than her years. "The Bulkotnamu took 10 years to build with unlimited resources. We cannot make 100 ships in 5 years." "Then we make as many as we can," Do-hoon said, "and we make them better." The rebuilding began. Factories across the world were converted to produce hybrid technology. Human steel married alien crystals. Human computers learned to speak with alien systems. A new generation of engineers studied the wreckage of the rail fleet, learning their secrets, finding their weaknesses. And a new generation of soldiers volunteered for the fleet. Taiho trained them personally. He had become something like a legend after the battle, the human who had walked through a Ruhl flagship and killed everything in his path. Young people came from every country, wanting to learn from him, wanting to become weapons like him. "You want to know the secret?" Taiho asked his students one day. They were practicing zero-gravity combat in a simulation chamber built from Ruhl technology. "The secret is that there is no secret. The Ruhl are bigger and stronger and older. They have been killing for 10,000 years. You cannot match them in experience or power." He paused, letting them wonder. "But you can match them in rage. You can match them in desperation. And you can surprise them, because they have never fought anyone who refused to give up." He smiled, and it was not a kind smile. "Be more stubborn than them. Be more vicious. Be willing to die as long as you take them with you. That is how you win." Yuna was promoted to admiral. She commanded the growing fleet from a space station orbiting Earth. Under her leadership, humanity built 37 warships in 3 years. Not enough to match the Ruhl Empire, but enough to make them bleed. Sora established research stations throughout the solar system. On Mars, scientists studied Ruhl biology, looking for weaknesses. On Europa, engineers tested new weapons in the cold and the dark. On Titan, pilots trained in conditions that would break ordinary humans. And Minho stayed with Hanul. The AI had changed after merging with the Bulkut Namu. It was no longer just a program or a personality. It was something new, a fusion of human and alien thinking. It could feel emotions now in a way it never had before. It could understand things that pure logic could not explain. "I am becoming more like you," Hanul said one day. "More human. Is that strange?" Minho shook his head. "No, I think I am becoming more like you, too. More willing to see the big picture. More patient. More accepting of things I cannot change. Is that good or bad? I do not know. Maybe both." Hanul made a sound that was almost a laugh. "We are both becoming hybrids, like this ship, like this fleet, something new." In the 4th year, Do-hoon led the first expedition beyond the solar system. The Bulkut Namu had been repaired and upgraded. Its crew was smaller now, just 50 people, but they were the best humanity had to offer. They carried weapons that would have been impossible a decade ago. And they carried something else. A message. They followed the coordinates from Hanul's memories, through fold after fold of faster-than-light travel, past stars that no human had ever seen, through regions of space that Hanul remembered from its former life. And they found it. Hanul's home world. It was dead. The rail had stripped everything of value and left behind a husk. Cities lay in ruins. Oceans had been drained. Forests had been burned. Of the billions of beings who had once lived here, nothing remained but bones and ash. Do-hoon walked through the ruins with Hanul speaking in his ear. The AI was quiet, processing grief that it had held inside for decades. "This is what they do," Hanul finally said. "This is what they have done 1,000 times. This is what they will do to Earth if we let them." Do-hoon knelt and picked up something from the ground. It was a small figurine carved from stone, shaped like a creature with too many limbs and too many eyes. A child's toy, maybe. A memory of a species that no longer existed. "We will not let them," he said. "How can you be sure?" "Because we are human." Do-hoon stood and looked at the stars. "Because we have seen what happens when you surrender to monsters. Because we would rather burn than kneel." He placed the figurine in his pocket. a reminder of what they were fighting for. "Hanul," he said, "broadcast this message on every Raoul frequency, in every language they understand. Let them hear what is coming." And Hanul spoke, its voice carrying across the void. "Attention, Rule Empire. You have hunted the galaxy for 10,000 years. You have destroyed 1,000 worlds and harvested 1,000,000,000 species. You believe yourselves to be invincible. You believe that nothing can stop you." A pause. "You are wrong. We are humanity. We have taken the broken ship of your victims and made it our own. We have studied your technology and made it better. We have trained soldiers who do not fear death. And we are coming for you." Another pause. "Not to negotiate. Not to surrender. Not to beg for mercy. We are coming to hunt you. Every fleet, every base, every world you have poisoned with your cruelty. We will find you, we will fight you, and we will destroy you." The message echoed across 1,000 star systems. On Ruel ships and Ruel stations and Ruel worlds, beings who had never known fear began to feel something cold in their hearts. "This is the beginning of the end," Hanul concluded. "Not for us, for you." 50 years later, historians would call this moment the start of the human era. The Rel Empire had stood for 10,000 years. It fell in 40. World by world, fleet by fleet, humanity and their allies pushed back against the hunters. Species that had been enslaved rose up and joined the fight. Technology advanced faster than anyone had imagined, and humans, strange and stubborn and refusing to die, led the charge. Dohun did not live to see the final victory. He died at 73, peacefully, in a hospital on Earth. His children and grandchildren surrounded him. Yuna was there too, old and tired but still sharp. Sora had died a decade earlier, but her research had made everything possible. Taiho had died in combat, the way he always wanted, taking a real warlord with him. Minho lived longer than any of them. He and Hanul had become something that was neither human nor AI, but something new. They watched as the last rail surrender. They watched as a galaxy began to heal. And then Minho returned to Earth, to the mountain where everything began. A memorial stood there now, honoring the nameless alien pilot who had crashed with a warning and a gift. Minho was 112 years old, his body frail, but his mind still sharp. He placed his hand on the stone and felt Hanul's presence beside him. "Do you think they are proud of us?" Minho asked. "The pilot, their people. Do you think they are watching?" Hanul was quiet for a moment. Then, "I do not know if there is anything after death, but I know that their sacrifice was not wasted. I know that because of them humanity survived, and because of humanity 1,000 species are free." Minho nodded slowly. "That is enough. That is more than enough." Above them, the stars shone with the light of human ships. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson about the small blue world called Earth. A lesson that would never be forgotten, never threaten humanity, never harm their world. They do not forgive, they do not forget, and they always, always fight back.